We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. I'm Gabe Johansson. I'm here in the studio with Trevor Howard and two very special guests. We are honored to share the studio today with Arthur and Ruben Ryapolov. Did I say that right?
There you go.
I didn't say the Y at all. These guys are part of Seven-Figure Builder. They are total phenoms, 28 and 30 years old, out doing millions of dollars worth of development, residential, subdivision. We can't wait to get to hear your story and know more about what you guys are doing. Thanks for being on the show today.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So you guys came down from Portland.
Yep.
You're a Portland group. You've been doing this a while, or you new at it?
About 7 years now.
So when you were like 22 years old.
22 is when I first did my deal.
All right. So you guys are brothers, cousins. How's this work? You're obviously family. You share the last name.
Blood brothers.
Blood brothers, but you disagree on how to pronounce your last name.
Something like that.
15 months apart. So there you go.
All right. Couple of good-looking guys. I can tell you're related. So give us just a little backstory of where does this start? Like, how did you guys, were you always like this as kids? Were you out trying to make a dollar when you were young? Like, were you guys always hustlers from day one, or did this start more recently?
Spot on. So it all started at 15 for me. I started a t-shirt screen printing business, got myself into $250,000 of credit card debt by age 22. Couldn't get enough sales to cover the business, and I started counting up how many t-shirts I have to sell in order to get out of debt. Impossible. There's no way. And so I ended up, couldn't pay my apartment, gave it up, moved in with my in-laws, and all of a sudden, they have this like sloped crawl space, and they're like, Russian, Ukrainian, can you build us a sauna? We want a sauna. So I'm trying to figure out, I've never done construction in my life. I'm 22 years old.
Well, don't say that. You built a half pipe that I tested.
Oh, skaters.
So we used to skate together. Well, I'd be building it, he'd be testing. So but I ended up building out this basement sauna, hiring subcontractors, and I got my aha moment. I was like, dude, I don't even need to know how to pick up a hammer, framing, slab. I hired subs, managed the whole project, built this cool sauna, posted on my Instagram story, and that was my entry into construction management.
All right. People started calling you saying, I want something like that.
Wait,
Exactly.
what bank gave a 22-year-old a $250,000?
He said it was credit cards.
Yeah, how'd you get $250K limit?
Oh, business credit cards, and it was a lot of them.
20, the next 20, the next 20. You're like, man.
Balance transfers,
He had 15 credit cards.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, a little bit of my background. 15 years old. My dad's in the auto industry. He buys and sells cars. So he used to end up buying and selling, having a dealership, switched over to a different model where he would just buy and sell, damaged vehicles. And so he started scaling that because it was quicker turnaround. So I looked at my dad and said, well, I'm just going to do what my dad does. So at 15 years old, saved up, bought my first car, sold it, made $1,000 profit.
Volkswagen
2001 Volkswagen Golf, red with chrome wheels. I had a permit, couldn't even drive yet. And ended up selling it, making a profit, doubling my money. And I guess that's where I got the first taste of you don't have to work an hourly job or collect a commission. You can actually do deals, just deals in general,
That's
whatever
right.
you're flipping. So I ended up doing that. But at the same time, my dad's preaching, don't do cars. Don't do what I'm doing. Go do what these successful people are doing. And for him, success was number 1, real estate, number 2, logistics, number 3, cars. So he's like, cars is always your backup plan. Logistics, you kind of have to lie a little bit. I don't like that industry.
What's logistics?
Trucking. So
shipping. Okay.
Yeah, it's shipping, trucking. They sometimes will consolidate freight. The whole 9 yards is just a little too much. And so he's like, if I was you, I'd get into new construction, building, whatever that looks like, flipping. And so I started getting hungry. And at that same time, while looking to get into the real estate space for 5 years, I was still buying, selling, and doing car sales and just stacking up some cash, getting ready for that first build. And so for me, for the first season of life, it was 5 years till 2021, I was just hustling. And I didn't know where to go, who to talk to. I went to free events. I went to meetup.com and what else do they have? They would have these like networking events at a Mongolian Grill. And I'd ask everyone, can I work for you for free? Can I work for you for free? And everyone would say no. Long story short, finally somebody said yes, and they were a real estate developer. I didn't even know what that was. I was like, oh yeah, developer, cool. So I ended up getting an internship, and that was my first exposure to real estate development. And at that same time, Ruben didn't get...
What age?
I was around 2017, so what was I?
I don't know.
21. So I was 21 years old, just now getting exposed into it. At that same time, Ruben got a job for a national builder. So I'm the developer, he's the builder. We were both learning from somebody else, watching them doing it on a massive scale. So I was working for this company, and they were at around 80 to 100 million in assets, and they grew to about 500-600 million. So I got to watch that growth and be part of the acquisitions and the project management.
How long were you there with that developer?
I was there for about 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
So
you learned what you needed to learn to go out on your own in 3 to 4 years?
So what he said, I came in as just a intern project manager assistant. But for me, I don't remember the guy. He's in a lot of famous movies. But he said when I was in Hollywood, I was the janitor. But I told myself I'm doing this as if I'm getting paid $1 million. And so the way he did it was much different than somebody collecting $20 an hour. Eventually now he's a top actor. That same mindset, I was like, I'm going to just go above and beyond and do everything possible. And that's the way I got hired. He's like, hey, I don't have necessarily a position, but you can help out this project manager and do some small jobs like a parking lot expansion for a BlackRock and things like that. And so I got to the point where I was managing commercial 180-unit apartment complexes, 200 to 500 lot subdivisions. And within this first 6 months, I brought like 10 deals to the table. And he's like, how the heck did you do this? What did you do? And it was just me, again, $1 million an hour, or I'm just getting paid $1 million. I'm going to go all out, just put myself out there, you know? So I got to learn a lot from that. That was, I wanted to quit a lot of times. But to be honest, my parents were like, you're getting paid to learn. You will never regret this. And now to this point, I'm like, man, I'm so happy you guys forced me to stay, because in those moments, it didn't feel that cool, right? You're just like, dude, I'm collecting barely anything, and how am I supposed to do what these other guys are doing, right? Yeah. The shiny object syndrome, I guess.
Did Dad give you both the same advice?
Yeah.
Go into real estate?
He said real estate, trucking, or cars, and you always have cars.
Well, Ruben went and started T-shirts, and Dad's like, I would get out of that,
Yeah, I didn't hear T-shirts on that list.
Yeah.
You're like, Dad, I'm going to prove to you. T-shirts will do it.
That's actually exactly what happened, and I paid the price.
Dads are always right somehow. I don't know. How do they do that?
They know it.
So how did you get out of your debt then?
Yeah, so 22, I build this first sauna project, get a second sauna project to build, posted on my Instagram. I got paid, I think, a $10,000 fee over 6 months. And I was like, all right, I mean, this is better than T-shirts. So I started looking for a construction management job. I applied to so many different places. And the funniest way, I got a job at the National Builder. And so somebody told me, hey, this guy works there. Just tell him that he sent you. I come into their office. I'm like, yeah, Stevie sent me. And they're like, Stevie doesn't work here. He's just a tile supplier. You know what I mean? And so, but I got my interview. Like 3 interviews later, they give me a job. $52K salary, $8K bonuses. And I was like, all right, let's do it. For me, the coolest thing was like getting paid to learn. And that's what it was for me. And so I started picking up trash. Honestly, that was my main job, and watching these project managers run 20 houses at once, start to finish. And I was just like, this is it. This is going to be the future.
Were you not stressed to the max because you got like $250,000 in debt, and you're like,
you
this is going to take me 5 years to make?
You just stop paying.
Not stressed at all.
He's like, whatever.
He's 22 years old. He's like, I can start my credit over again if I have to.
America's built on debt. I tell you that.
So I just stopped paying. Credit score 400. Like, I was like, how low can you go?
Well, I was gonna say, now it's like we're winning, right? We get so much credit card points. We're traveling free. A couple million points, and before it's like you're in debt. Now you're winning. The bank's like, I don't know if I want you to have a credit card.
The tides have turned.
There you go.
Move this thing with you too as you're going.
But basically, what ended up happening is I'm working there. I'm watching people build houses, and I was a little too confident. And I'm like, we're driving with Arthur in a car. Somebody calls him, hey, I have a lot available. It's an extra, private road, extra lot available. We're buying 25. If you want, you can have one. Arthur didn't want to pull the trigger, so I was like,
I was a chicken.
So when you said you were trading, were you like wholesaling houses or buying and selling houses before?
Doing what?
You said you were so you're flipping cars, and then you said you were trading something else.
Oh, no,
like
flipping
houses.
cars, and I was doing sales.
Oh, sales. Okay.
Just car sales.
Okay, so you guys had never done any real estate.
No,
and you
zero.
come across this.
Nothing. Yeah,
Okay.
zilch.
I bought a wholesale course in like 2016 for a few $100, and I sent out some letters, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So that's about the only exposure I got before I got my internship.
Okay.
Yeah, but essentially this deal comes up. I'm managing these basically I'm doing, scheduling paint touch up and picking up trash. And this lot comes up and I'm like, listen, Arthur, if you're not going to take it, I'm going to take it. And so he's like, all right, he sent the documents over, the purchase and sale agreement. I had no idea what I was doing. And I start calling people. I was like, hey, I need 120 grand. I work for this builder. I'm building 20 houses. I know what I'm doing. Like, I'll manage the whole project. You bring the 120 grand. We'll split the profit 50-50. So I ended up taking on this build. Looking back, crazy risky decision because I got a hard money loan, right? It was a hard money loan. The title wasn't in my name, so there was zero paperwork, nothing. Like, I just trusted this guy. And so we ended up building this house. I posted it on Instagram, and apparently it was a conflict of interest with the national builder. So
got you fired.
He got me fired. Got called into the office. He printed out my Instagram paper, slid it across the desk.
This is the best part.
Slid it across the desk. He's like, "What's this?"
It's a house.
No,
He said, "This is the house I built. So cool."
no, seriously, my hand is across the table. It's a house, I built it. But what's crazy is, like, the training program at this national builder, they dropped this training manual on my desk, and they're like, hey, you need to read all of this. We have 1 week to train you, and when you're ready, you're going to go out into the field. And she's like, I'm going to walk around the office, and I'll check in on you. So she drops this thing. I open it. Like, not even 2 minutes later, she walks around the block, in the little office cubicles. She's like, hey, you finished? I'm like, yeah. She's like, great, sounds good, you're approved. So to be honest, I had no idea. But yeah, I got fired, guys. At this point, still $250K in debt, 400 credit score, hard money loan now. The house is still not sold.
So you signed on the loan but didn't take title?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how it all worked.
Yeah.
I don't know how it all worked back then, but ultimately I have I don't remember how much it was, 2-3K hard money loan payment.
Yeah.
It's on the market. It's this is my first time. I'm freaking out. It's
3 points on draw. It's not on draw, like full balance. He's just
Full
like,
balance.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. You know?
But the house is done.
The house is done. I'm fired now. I'm sitting at home, and the house is on the market.
No money, no credit, but you got a house.
Yeah, exactly. But got an offer. Ended up selling it. Made I don't remember the exact
45K.
No, it was like 53,000. So at that time I was making 52 working for the builder, and I honestly, that was my shocking moment where it's like, man, I'm getting paid 52 to give away 40 hours of my week. I did this thing on the side, like probably stopped by 30 minutes a day just to check in on where we're at, building this as a GC. It's so easy to get your GC license in Washington, no test, no nothing. And I made $53,000 profit, and I was like, this is how I'm going to get out of debt, So after that, I started syndicating on more deals. Arthur's still working for the developer, and I'll let Arthur talk about his first deal.
But then, how did you get out of debt? It was your first personal house.
Well, let's not get there. Let's talk about your first deal, because Arthur's first deal is crazy.
Cool. So I saw Ruben do it. I was like, okay, if he can do it, I can do it. Right? He likes to wing it. I always say that. He's more wing it. I'm more calculated. It works really well together. We balance each other out. And so I saw him do it. I started slowly at that time I'm working for this developer, and I don't have enough time to flip cars, so I was slowly exiting on the cars and doing 1 to 2 a month, and I started stacking up the capital that I originally had into inventory. I always paid it all off cash. Finally stacked up just enough, had 50-60 grand, and I was like, I work a full-time job. I can't go start sourcing land deals. Like, there's a way to do this. So I talked to a wholesaler, and he sends me a deal, charges me 20 grand for a lot for 75 grand in Portland, and I pay 95 with permits. So first I pay this wholesaler the 95, but I go get a loan, 3 points, 12% interest, total balance. Kind of crazy. Now thinking back, I'm like, dude, I paid 15%. If you leverage everything the right way, you could be at like 6 to 8% on total cost. And so I end up getting the loan in place. Never had any experience, but Ruben as the GC, paid him 20 grand, paid the wholesaler 20 grand, and walked away and doubled my money also. So I put in about 50, made 47, 48 grand. And that's what I would make in just about a year flipping cars. I do about 30 to 50 cars, make around $1,000 a car.
So you built a house there.
And I built a house
And
in
sold it,
Portland. And I'm
yeah.
like,
You like literally, I don't know how much time, barely any time spent on this deal because he paid a wholesaler to find the deal. He hired me as a GC
To build it.
So I'm on site.
so I'm like, I have no licenses. I'm not a builder. I'm not an agent. I'm nobody. I'm just working a full-time job for this developer that has nothing to do with this side investment. He doesn't do vertical. We do everything underground and commercial vertical. So we build out Starbucks, Jiffy Lube, Chase Bank, working there. And I just leverage it all on my side. Again, 15, 20 minutes a day, just making sure finishes. I'm like, oh, copy that other house you did. Just order everything the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that looks like. And so for me to double the cash, and that was my salary too, I was like, dude,
This is it.
to do 40 cars in a year, I can do one house, and it's, I would say, just about the same amount of time for me to flip one car as it is to build a house. And so that was my like aha moment.
It's at least 40 times better.
Yeah, I'm like, shoot. I was like, I need 3 more lots, 5 more lots. I'm like calling people. I'm like, dude, I only have enough for 2 more lots. You know, if you want to go get 3 more lots, we had like 5 in a row or something. And I ended up doing like 5 or 6 the next year and just syndicated. So that was my first experience of syndicating. And it was all kind of hearsay. Yeah, I trust you. Boom. We bought 5 lots and Ruben started building them out.
Were you guys born in America?
Yeah.
Yep.
So your parents from Russia, Ukraine?
My dad's from Russia. My mom's from Ukraine.
One of the things I think about is, 15-year-old kids, when your parents tell you something, you still have to have the fire in you to want to go out and actually do it, right? Like what was inside of you? Like my dad came here from Norway, and I feel like it was a blessing for me to be like a first-generation American on his side of the family because he instilled kind of an immigrant mindset when it came to work and hustle and like taking advantage of the American dream. Do you guys feel like your upbringing had something to do with that? Because in today's world, I don't see a lot of 15-year-old kids that are asking mom and dad, what business should I get ready for?
Yeah, I think mostly watching my dad, right? His lifestyle, sure, he made it through a couple of commercial deals. His business was not the business that lets him live a lifestyle. But he seller financed a commercial building in Portland, put $100,000 down. That $100,000 he borrowed from somebody else, ended up netting over 7 figures. So, and that's why he was preaching to us real estate, because he did that in like 2015, 2016.
Made more money than he ever made in
and
cars.
then 2017, he's telling me that.
Yeah.
But really watching his life though, right? He will, yes, he's a business owner. You're 24/7 working, right? But at the same time, you're not 24/7 in an office or at the job site or at the office. So he would come in at 10, 11, come home sometimes 1, 2, 3, go take us out somewhere. I'm like, dude, this guy's not working a full-time job. I started working a full-time job. I'm like, no offense to anybody, but working a 9 to 5 is so difficult if you're collecting just a check. If it's commission or there's some sort of upside, it's way more motivating. And I think watching him and seeing that and him putting that inside of us gave us that fire and drive. I feel like no matter what, if it was cars, I'd open up a dealership. If it was trucking, I'd go do a brokerage and have 30 trucks. But we went into the real estate space from, really our dad pushing us.
My dad was a car dealer too. And he used to always look at me and say, I got into the wrong business. And that really pissed me off because I gave 20 years of my life to the car business.
Wow.
But I'd ask him, I was always really interested in real estate. And I heard, if you ever want to really get rich, you got to own your own business. If you're really going to build wealth, you got to own real estate. You hear people say that kind of thing all the time. And I'd ask my dad, like, how come we don't get into real estate? And he'd go, well, yeah, we probably should, but I just know cars. This is what I know. Was your dad the same way? Like in the sense that he was like,
Yep.
I know I could make more in real estate, but it's sort of scary or unknown, or maybe I'm too old to switch gears now.
Yep.
I know that's where the real money is, but I know the car biz like the back of my hand, and that's just what I'm going to do.
A lot of his friends are builders now here locally, and they build in Lake Oswego. Some left to the East Coast, and they were all in auto or trucking or something else. So for him, that I would say that's really it.
So what also happened around 2017 is my dad had a full-on body shop. He had 16, 18 employees. And at that time, he let everybody go, sent them all home on just 1 day's notice because he was like drowning in overhead. And at that moment, he unlocked something in his business to where he got rid of all his overhead, but he learned how to buy cars the right way. And so with a tiny staff, with a tiny overhead, he sold the commercial building. He now has 7 figures in his account. He buys a building for cash, and he's just selling 10 to 20 cars just because he got good deals. He's running this simple operation, and he's making
more money,
way more money,
less stress, maybe more work, but less stress. I don't know, different kind of work.
And so at that moment, he's like, why would I ever get out of cars? He still recommended us get into real estate because he's like, man, if you guys do 10 of these commercial deals, you'll be way farther than I ever could be in cars. But at that time, he's, it's 08, 2017. He just went through 08, 5-10 years ago. He's stressed out. He doesn't, it's just too much. At the end of the day, it's too much.
Well, and you don't know how to gauge your risk when you're getting into a new industry like that. Like, he knows what to look for when he goes to an auction or when he buys a car off of somebody. Like, he knows, like, oh, this one's got, a bent frame. This one's the hood's been painted. Like, it just becomes part of your nature. When you switch to something like real estate, like I've done, and you did as well, Arthur, like, you have to step into a whole new world and understand what are the new risks and challenges and pitfalls that I can fall into. A lot of the stuff that you learn when you learn how to hustle translates over, but a lot of the lingo and all of the network and all of the things that you have to learn in this whole new industry, you really have to start from scratch. And if you're 60, that's a very different conversation than if you're 20, right?
100%.
Yeah, I would say the big thing I always say to other people, like, what'd you learn? What's this? What's that? Or how was it? I always say the big key is you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? When somebody says, well, the only thing you're not doing is skyscrapers. I'm like, well, I just don't know how
I haven't done it.
I haven't done it. But what I will say, looking back, it's understanding that you just, for the first deal I built, the first house Ruben built, I can say it was the easiest, or it was the hardest home I've ever built. Building a 15 unit was easier. Doing a 30 lot subdivision with 30 townhomes is easier, because it's just the mind. Sometimes I feel like 95% is the mind, 5% is everything else. You'll just learn and go. You have the right counsel, right people. You're like, hey, look at this deal, and you missed 2 or 3 things. They stop you, and you're just going. But that first hump of trying that new thing, I don't know if you had the same experience. I feel like that first step was the absolute hardest thing. I remember not sleeping at night, nails in my stomach when I had one house, and the payment was $2,000 a month, and it was right after, or it was during COVID.
It's scary.
And I'm like, I'm losing everything. I'm in an apartment. I can go move in and have a $2,000 payment, and I'm over here, like, I remember laying in bed freaking out. And now I'm like, well, if I have $100,000 or $200,000 in payments and I'm sleeping at night, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy the difference of just experiencing that, and you can't necessarily teach someone that, but you can guide them, right?
You've expanded your mindset through experience.
Right.
You guys have gone out, tried things, messed things up, fixed things, and learned how to solve problems, to where now today a $200,000 problem is easier to solve than the $2,000 problem was when you started.
Yep. 100%.
I'm going to let Trevor say something because he likes to ask a lot of questions. He's going to want to know about what kind of deals you do. He's not going to get all touchy-feely like I am.
No, I was curious, too. What things could have gone wrong to set you guys back? Because there's not many people that can go just build a house with no experience and actually make profit on it. I would think most people that try to do that fail.
Yeah, I would say a lot of things did go wrong, right? It's not that everything was perfect, but what we did learn is we learned how to handle pressure, underwrite deals. The deals that didn't go as well, there was a forgiving market. Right now it's less forgiving, right? So you learn all those different lessons to where you adjust and fine-tune. When we were sharing about my dad, I feel like we've gotten into that position where 250 doors sounds cool, right? It's awesome. We did a lot. But now I'm like, I can do 100 and make way more profit than the 250 because of the experience. I can now get the land, develop it myself, bring in the partners, and just stagger it and sell each one off, rent out 30%, rent out 50%, sell 50%. You have a whole different strategy from all those lessons. And I think anyone that just rides the wave and doesn't have those hardships, there's always a bigger crash, right? Unless there's somebody out there saying, hold on, pause, look at this, look at that. And so we've had those people where people were also in our lives that were doing the 100 doors, right? And we can go to them, grab some lunch, and they're like, hey, well, I don't know about this deal. Location's okay. This one's a little better, right? So you learn a lot of those lessons, and you can adjust as you go. I think that's the biggest key. And just understanding that first leap of faith and making sure you understand the numbers. For me and Ruben, the numbers is everything.
Yep.
Did you understand them on the first deal, would you say?
No.
No.
I was going to say.
But they worked.
Made major mistakes on those first few deals because just a few deals later, right, for $50K on that first house, Arthur made $300K on one of his other houses. And so, you know, finance, huge. Underwriting, huge. The way you get the deal, massive. You know, like
cost, value, everything is numbers.
Yeah.
Like you, at the end of the day, if the numbers make sense from day one, like they always say, you make money on the buy, on the purchase. You could have a builder that builds it for a little bit more. Maybe you didn't run as well on the comparables, but if you bought a really good deal from the get go, it's always profitable.
That's right. Numbers don't lie.
That's right.
And where wholesalers are competing for houses, right, there's not that many people competing for land as much as you think. And so I think that's been a really good, big blessing with how Arthur was able to find deals for that developer that he worked for. He took that skill set and started finding deals for us to syndicate on and permit ourselves. So that was a big win.
When you're talking about building 100 doors, you're talking about building 100 houses.
Yeah,
Are you building big multifamily projects too, or
our project range from a duplex to up to 15 units.
Okay.
So it wasn't. We didn't do any 50, 100 unit complexes.
You're doing residential and small multifamily.
Yep. A lot of infill, demo a house, build a sixplex, build a fourplex. And now we're shifting more towards subdivision work, get a 5-acre parcel, build out 25 homes or 25 townhomes.
Sell some of the lots, or you build it all?
I mean, that's the thing is when markets were different, you have a permit-approved fourplex. Not many people buy that, so you have to build it out.
Yeah.
And we've learned that the more exit strategies you have, that's what the developer would tell me every time. When I bring a deal to him, he's like, what's the 3 strategies here? And so it made me think, because really I thought like, okay, Portland, you permit it, you have to build it, so there's one, and you either sell it, you rent it, or you Airbnb it, but then there's also restrictions in Portland with renting, right?
Yeah.
The SDC program. And so you learn those lessons, and now I'm like, well, if I can have more exit strategies, I just have more ammunition. So if I develop, I can sell the lots paper, I can sell the lots finished to a national builder, I can sell 50% of them, build 25% of them, build and rent the other 25%, right? So the more strategies and the more exit we have, I realize the further we can go and the more we can do there, or if it's a stabilized apartment or value add, right? You come in there, you're already collecting the rent. There's already cash flow. It's covering itself. You're just you're increasing the value. When I worked for the developer, we would do commercial sites like that. We picked up an $11 million purchase. It was retail, took out a tenant, put a new tenant in, did a $1 million remodel. It sold for 16.5. So I got experience a little bit of that. The cool thing is you're covering payments as you go because there's renters or tenants.
Tenants it's a covered redevelopment play because you've got a rent roll. That's what we like.
We didn't have that. We were like, we just have to survive for 2 years.
Dirt, you're just covering the payments unless they're accruing interest for you.
Yeah. So right now we have 115 lots in permitting, and most of it is subdivision work. And so that's kind of our game plan, our strategy, and that's kind of what we transition to from the infill demo type product to, hey, subdivision. And then we have plenty of exit strategies on, whether we're going to sell those lots or build them out or rent them.
Do you guys pivot throughout the process in terms of...
All the time.
So you may go like, hey, today I want to build to sell. Tomorrow we may want a higher percentage of build to rent.
When you're doing that, how does it affect your capital raising? Because those people are a lot of time wanting to do one thing, stay short term or long term. But if you're pivoting on it, are you just parking new capital?
So at the end of the day, we're talking to the investors on a very close basis, and we talk to them and we say, hey, this is what's happening in the market. This is what we see is the best strategy. What do you guys think? And we can always build to sell, but we're on our feet, on our tippy toes, talking to them and making those changes.
And depending on the partner, if somebody wants rentals, right? You sell half, rent half, things like that. So I think it's a deal by deal basis. When the interest rates went to 8%, we sold off a couple of our projects permit ready, and we're like, okay, we would have built out 300 doors. We're like, let's offload 50 permit ready. Other people can handle it. We'll take a small margin, and then we'll build out the other projects and as we go. So we do adjust strategy based on markets, and that's where a lot of lessons were learned.
You felt like you were going to maybe oversupply for yourself or have too much exposure building that many doors. And
based on our team, we're like, we don't want to squeeze our team at the GC side, and we were not planning to scale it more than what it is, and so we decided to offload some of it. And so that's the beauty of it, right? If we're doing 100 doors and we only want to do 80, we can sell 20 lots.
Speaking of the GC side, obviously you guys have employees and subs and all this infrastructure that you've built. Do you feel the pressure to have a hard time pivoting to slow down and pump the brakes when you've got people to keep busy? Or are you guys limber enough to be able to adjust to up and down cycles?
So at the end of the day, we took on a lot of inexperienced people. And so throughout the process, I'm a teacher. Just by nature, my heart, I love to teach, and people tell me that I'm a good teacher, and so I really enjoy it. So at the end of the day, pretty much I've let go a lot of my staff as we sold out, the 250 doors. But I had a good conversation with each one of them, and through my team, Joseph, my manager, we left them off better than they came to us. And at the end of the day, that's how it all happened. And we said, hey, you learned an incredible skill. I strongly, encourage you to go get a job somewhere like here. You're now qualified. Whereas before, you didn't have the stripes.
Leave them better than they came, I think, is the big thing. But with what you're saying with scaling and everything, and the GC company, I would say I've realized also experience is everything. We have our other PMs, they're running sites, they're taking, let's say, 6 to 8 months to build a 4-plex infill in Portland. Another superintendent we hire that had remodel experience for 5 years, has done over 100 remodels for customers, comes in, takes the SOP, takes the system we built out, studied it for a week, started, built a 4-plex in 3 months and 3 weeks.
Wow.
And so you think like, that was our aha moment. If we're paying $8,000 a month in interest on a project, and he saved me 2 months, that's $16,000, and he runs 5 projects, you're talking $100,000 on 2 months of savings.
Pays for himself.
And we realized then that one person is better than 2, and they're both taking longer, and their salaries combined are more. And so I've realized that myself, that experience is absolutely everything when you come to hiring. Even our wholesale company, we didn't talk about our wholesale, but we wholesale nationwide. So we've wholesaled about in total assignments on contracts about $1.3 million now in the last 18 months.
So that $300 course paid off.
There you go. Yeah,
finally.
Yeah, there you go. So I did take. You know what I will say? That 2016 course that I bought, I did learn some things that I used in the development space. And that's how I was doing deals. I didn't realize it because I couldn't put the two together, right? I'm like, this concept kind of makes sense. It doesn't. I don't know how to negotiate. I took the development experience with 6 months of seeing what's happening, took that wholesale, send letters, do this, do that, and I start putting the two together, and I started signing contracts. So it definitely did help. I think it just wasn't for that time, right? Yeah. In 2016, I didn't know. Yeah. But I still did it. I studied it. And so I think that's that big key, is that experience is what we both learned. And with the wholesale side, same thing. We had a team that was 3 times the size, doing less revenue than today, where we've shrunk it, again, 3 times. It's a much smaller team, and we're doing 3 times that revenue. So we're, again, learning that process of you don't need more people to do more things. You can actually do more with less.
So tell me where you guys are going with all this. You're a 7-figure builder. You're an education platform. You're big on social media. You're building subdivisions, houses, small multifamily. Some of it you sell, some of it you keep. You're a national wholesale company. Like, what are you trying to accomplish here?
At the end of the day, we're really passionate about real estate, and I think the vision with the social media is it's as simple as you don't know what you don't know. So we launched the social media roughly 6-7 months ago. And just to highlight one of our students, he's now building 6 houses in St. John's, Indiana.
Wow.
And to me, the concept is absolutely mind-blowing, because Arthur's running numbers on the Vancouver market today. And he's like, man, these numbers just don't look as good, And then he's underwriting deals in St. John's, Indiana, where he would have never thought to go on Zillow, Redfin, and look up those comps. And he's, underwriting 6 deals, and they're extremely profitable. And so that social media brand and that education platform exposed us to the right people who are hustlers and who really want to change their life. And at the end of the day, we're getting exposed to new markets, and we can gauge and see, and we'll see how these deals sell.
Win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and I would say the I don't want to say game plan, the strategy with the wholesale is it ties in really well with the build, right? We're bringing deals to the table. We use the wholesale strategies to get more deals under contract. But then the ones, the nationwide stuff is just really cool. You can get a $20K rip in 30 days. That's awesome. By just selling some paper, flipping paper. But that wholesale ties in with the building. And our goal, I think, maybe Ruben is on the same page, is I would love to build and rent. Just build, rent, build, rent, build, rent. And then we have our cash flow business, and we're also teaching people, and they're doing it. And then we start going into new markets and creating more rental properties out there as well. I don't want to just be heavy on the West Coast.
How much build rent are you doing right now?
We have about 50 rentals right now.
Yeah, just
mostly houses, or is it
new construction? Yeah, I would say townhomes,
some apartments,
Couple
some
homes.
condos.
So is the hardest part just creating enough margin that you can refi out with today's rates and debt cover?
Yes.
Or-
So like
Exactly.
my plan, if you go back to 2020, 2021, I was like, I put this whole map out. I'm going to build 200 houses. I'm going to keep half of them, sell the other half. Margin shrunk, and I was like, I thought I could sell enough to just pay the debt down and have free and clear homes. And the margin shrunk to where refining at a 7 or 8, it was 9. If it's an 8% DSCR, was 9. I'm like, there is no cash flow. The 15-unit apartment I was planning to keep, there's literally no cash flow. You have to bring more money to the table. I was like, this is not really worth it. And I got an off-market offer. I'll take that and roll it into a 28-unit. And so I'm in that space of I'd rather accumulate to the point where I can do more of like that buy and hold and just refi everything out. I don't want to say all at once, but which we're gonna start doing with the subdivisions. We'll keep 30%, 40%, and offload.
It seems like it would be hard to do on houses because the numbers are so much tighter. I mean, if you're creating $300,000 spread though, then that I would assume
Not every house, right?
That was the big one.
Yeah, not every house.
But
That was a home run.
yeah, because like our goal with building anything is we don't want to build and sell because we feel like it's a waste of our time, and we want more like later money than now money for everything we look at because we just hoard real estate. Like we just love owning it.
I love it.
But like
I don't know why. It sucks.
It costs us a lot of money monthly sometimes to hold some of it.
Yep.
But
We love buildings more than money. That's the answer.
yeah, but like we look at the apartment project we're doing that's 66, and we're like, it sucks to think we may have to sell it and go through this whole process to do that. So like when you guys are talking build to sell, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I see the profit. But every time I think about it, it just breaks my heart.
The other thing is they've got a formula to bring these houses out of the ground that's probably, there's still brain damage, but probably a lot less than bringing 66 units out of the ground.
Right.
You know, like the one we're building in Seaside right now. It takes years to get entitlements and permit. I mean, we were fully entitled when we bought this last piece, and it took us 8 months to get the permits. It was fully approved project. I mean, you know, imagine if we had closed on that and waited 8 months just thinking we were going to get permits in 2 weeks. We would have had 8 months worth of debt service before we even broke ground. So you guys, you have the experience. You're building the lots. I'm sure you run into hiccups all the time. But with a house, I'm guessing you've got a formula where it's fairly cookie cutter. You've got the floor plans. Your guys know how to build those floor plans. You're not reinventing the wheel with every single house you're building.
Yeah, what's it look like on a general house number that you would build? Like, what does it rent for? What does it cost to build? What kind of
Our cost to build is around $150 a square foot if you're talking the Vancouver market. And
Okay, no land acquisition.
No
just
land,
the
just,
building.
so hard and soft costs, no finance. If you're looking on the Portland side, we're about $170 a square, not including the demo of the house. And so
why is it cheaper between the two?
$170 a square in Portland is because you got to bring utilities to it. There's just a little bit more site development, sidewalk, everything. When you're doing Vancouver, it's a ready lot. There's lateral stubbed, water meters there.
Okay.
The storm is connected. In Portland, you got to do dry wells on site, things like that.
But the difference is Portland takes, Vancouver takes twice as long. So, yeah, it's cheaper to build, but entitlement's longer in Vancouver.
They're just their own animals, right? And I think from your comment, what I will say is we're not in this that long to say, we can just straight build rentals. Going back, looking the 7 years that me and Ruben have done this, we would have started a fund from the beginning if we could raise the capital through a fund, and that type of investor maybe wants a build to rent. We would just rent everything out, right, and have some sort of cash flow. But the type of partners we had was more of active, fast cash, get in, get out, syndicate, get a certain margin, whatever that looks like. And so I think your partner or your capital, the type of capital you're structuring, will depend on the exit strategy as well, right? So we're both thinking, if we can continue to scale and keep all 113 doors, we'll do it.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's how the wholesale company was born, is because we're building to sell, like you said, and it's not fun, and you need cash flow. So what do? Well, what's the fastest check that we can get in what we're already doing? Wholesale. Boom. So we get on a wholesale team. Like Arthur said, we end up hiring, I don't know how many people. We had, around 10-ish. We had 10 people in the office. Everybody's grinding 4 hours on the phone a day. One of our guys put, how many hours did he put in? We have a high score, like record wall.
6 hour talk time in one day on the phones.
Imagine on the phones for 6 hours, like hitting your head against the wall, talking to distressed people. But at the end of the day, that's why the wholesale company was born, because we needed cash flow. You know what I mean? And so, sure, we had the builder fee, and that was covering the overhead of the project managers, but that's why we started the cash flow wholesale company, to start covering the the construction.
You needed some now money.
So you were talking about shiny object too, but now you got like 4 different businesses. Do you feel like they align well enough where they all compound, or
They're literally verticals.
vertical?
Yeah,
Okay,
they're
so
all
you feel
and you know, like the wholesale side, I spend a few hours a week. On the other company, we spend a couple hours a week, and the GC side also doesn't take a lot of work. We all have all our finish packs. We just here's that finish pack for this project. Run with it. They
What's
already
a
have the
finish
subs.
pack?
Meaning all the finishes, right? The plumbing, electrical.
Okay.
And so we have everything. So it's all, we've set it up from everything we've done to where it doesn't take that much of our time. And I think that's another reason why we launched Seven Figure, is because we were not that busy, which is awesome.
Essentially, a finish pack, to keep it super simple, it's a PDF that shows mirror, Amazon link, faucet,
It's a
Amazon
parts
link.
list.
And
Yeah,
so we
the
literally
parts list.
send it to the our front desk lady, Amazon quantities.
The PM fills out a form. You need 7 light fixtures, this, and they order.
Boom.
So we created a really awesome system from
We
the
had-
GC side, and so again, it doesn't take up that much of our
Yeah.
time.
We had a full-time systems person, and so we literally have a binder on all our standard operating procedures for the construction company. And so I think that person that we hired created those systems for us so that we could be more hands-off and be like, hey, I have a problem with design. Here's the binder. Hey, how many house numbers do I order? Here's the binder.
And that allows you to scale.
Yep.
Yeah. Going backwards a little bit, so you mentioned you did your first house, then you did like 5 the next year. When did you guys, like that, you started building it for
Well,
Arthur?
he would be building all
yeah,
those.
and then
so
when did you form your like formal partnership and keep it rolling and
We're
really start to scale?
officially, we're not partners till this day.
Just
I've
brothers.
I've got my development company. He has his GC company, and we do a lot of deals together, syndicate.
But you're 7-figure builder together.
We are
So you're
partners,
partners on that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
That's your education
and the
platform.
wholesale,
Yeah.
and the wholesale side. And so for me, I think it got to the point where the full-time job I couldn't handle it, right? And I'm like, the side investments and seeing the income coming in from that made no sense to dedicate 40, 50 hours, because me working for the developer, I gave everything in my 8-hour day. I'm not going to delude. And so that was always my mindset. So to the point where I'm like, after hours, it's now affecting, I'm married, I'm going to have a kid. I'm like, all right, I gotta exit and go all in. And when we did that, we started doing 100 doors a year, and just we were going full speed, right? So that was, I think it just was a natural exit, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Ruben was forced. Yeah. Fun story.
Tell us why.
but at the end of the day, I got fired. I think I syndicated on a duplex deal with somebody else. Then I did a 6-plex with another partner. Built those out. I made insane profit on that 6-plex. I just couldn't believe my eyes. Picked up an 18 unit after that. That wasn't a great project. Then I did. After that, Then I had a ton of
Salmon Creek, 8 houses.
Salmon Creek, 8 houses, guys. This was the cherry on top.
Few $100K a house. It was like just.
So at this time, I'm syndicating and I'm getting these builder fees. I'm still in debt. And finally, Arthur finds this off-market deal. It's a 1-acre parcel, and he starts developing it. He brought it to his boss. He said, "Boss, this is 8 lots. I know you do minimum 25. Can I do this one with my, can I do this one on the side?" Boss said, "Okay." So Arthur starts developing this, and I'm excited. I'm going to get 8 houses of builder fees, whatever that is. I don't know, maybe 25, 30K. That's 200K paycheck, to build out those 8 houses. I end up buying one of those lots through my builder fee. So I traded in my builder fee for one of those lots, and I build my first official personal house. Now here's what's insane. I thought that house was worth $550,000. I get a refinance.
We all did. We sold the first one for $560,000.
Yeah, and so I thought, I refinanced that first build. At the end, traded in my builder fee, basically moved in. Traditional 30-year mortgage. Mm-hmm. And 5 months goes by. Somebody knocks on the door, and they're like, "Hey, we really love your house. Would you please sell it to us?" And I'm like, whatever, like, sure, why not? Like, send me an offer. My sister's a realtor. Here's her number. Next morning, I get an offer of $750,000, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, "The heck is this?" I counter them at $760 just for fun, without talking to my wife, and so I get
you have 2 kids at this time?
2 kids at this time. I get a notification, DocuSign complete. A little sweat a little, and I'm like, "What did I just do?" I come to my wife. I'm like, "Honey, I just sold our house, but we're going to be debt free." And she's like, let's do it. At that moment, 30 days later, close, I get a $242,000 check out of nothing. I mean, guys, like, this is insane. I had $250K of debt, settle everything, pay it all off, move into the apartment. And at this time, I bought my first F-150 on payments. I don't know. In the Russian-Ukrainian culture, like, that's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
You buy everything off the auction. You know what I mean? Like, you're not
This one had never been wrecked.
This one had never been wrecked.
Oh, no. He got an F-150. He bought a boat. He got some other stuff.
He's having fun.
Oh, yeah.
First payment. I mean, I felt good. I'm living in this apartment. I'm enjoying my life. I end up selling the sixplex shortly after that. Made crazy profit on that one.
Yeah, like 6 months later, he sold a sixplex. It was at the peak of the market, and
oh my goodness! And then, you know, for me, after that point, I was like, dude, if I could make, and then Arthur was even smarter than me. So Arthur developed the lot. His agreement with the investor was, hey, I'll get 1 lot for free.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you finish. My negotiation was, I've got this deal. Let me develop it for you. All I want is 1 lot free and clear, and you can have the rest. And so I was like, I'll just put in the time, and I ended up getting a lot worth, $150,000. And then I built my house as well. That's why I had over $300K of profit, because my land was free. And so I was able to take advantage and get creative. And that's where I always tell people, you don't have to have the capital to do it. You have to have the experience.
But guys, to highlight the entire, the house that Arthur did. Arthur, you have to talk about construction to perm and how it's so powerful.
Yeah, so a big thing, getting exposure into the new construction game. That's why my social media blew up. That's why Ruben's social media blew up. Is one, people see we build these apartments, but they feel like, oh, I don't have millions of dollars. Well, you can go build a house for the same cost down payment as buying a house. And most people don't know that.
5% down.
Yeah, just 5% down, because what happens is it's 5% of the cost, which equals 20% of the value.
You don't have to buy the land. So total 5% down for both land and construction. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
So they wrap in the future equity as your conventional 20% down when you're coming into a house. Like, I built that personal house. I made that couple $100,000. Same with Ruben. I came in there with $52,000 down. And if you think the concept of you can put $52,000 down, and then I said, oh, I own the land. They're like, oh, you don't have to bring anything down. But the point is, if I was to go purchase the lot with the construction, you can come in there with $30 to $50K and create over 6 figures of equity if you do it the right way. And I was not the builder. I knew a builder, and I paid him a fee, right? So that is such an easy way to get into the game. Even my first build, if I knew that, I could have made $70,000, $80,000 if I decided not to live in it, and the payments would have been $1,500, right?
How annoying was using that loan product versus hard money? Because there's a lot more paperwork, right, as a builder when you're doing that.
So
is my understanding.
So me as a builder, I do all the paperwork for him. Mm-hmm. So to the customer, it's zero extra effort whatsoever.
For you though, is it a lot more work, or?
I mean, I just copy paste the template.
Okay. I mean, you have like the finish pack, right? But you just give the details on what the product is. You do it once, you can reuse it all the time. And then a budget. You put together a budget, and there's a couple references. That's really all that it is. And then the rest of it is, you obviously have to financially back it. So if you have a W-2 like I did, I was like, oh, this is easy. Mm-hmm. I'm pre-approved. I can go build a house instead. That's crazy. And but just to highlight, I mean, guys, like hard money, you guys know, cash on cash returns. This guy puts down, let's just say $50K, and can turn it into $335, completely tax-free in 2 years. Live there for 2 years, sell it. When I sold it, because I lived, he sold his, I stayed. I was like, I'm going to take advantage of the tax-free. When I sold it, it's crazy to me that you don't get taxed on any of it. It's the 701 code. Like, you can sell a primary residence. Doesn't have to be new construction, but how are you going to go buy a house and then get $300K of equity in 2 years? You've got to force it by building it, create some sort of value add, or do a remodel, fix and flip, whatever, or fix and live. So whatever that looks like. And so that was, to me, the next aha of, oh my goodness, I did 600% of my money and it's not crypto, right? That's crazy. Yeah. So.
And so that's honestly how everything changed for us. And then after that, I found after he did that, got his profit tax free, didn't have to pay any capital gains. I started looking for my next personal house, and now I'm in permitting on my 4th personal house. And if I push it right, I think I'm going to be $300K plus of tax-free profit on that house as well. Sure, I have to live there for 2 years, but after 6 months, I just pull the HELOC and I use that money anyway temporarily
and pay it off. Yeah.
So it's an incredible strategy.
Yeah, I always say build even if you have a house, because it's a conventional, it's not a first-time home. It's just go build a house.
Primary.
Yeah, just go build a house. Once you build one, have that equity, go start building more houses on the side. You don't have to be a builder. Just hire the builder, pay him cost plus. And now you got you're a real estate developer. Welcome to the world.
How do you find a builder that's going to build for a reasonable fee that isn't going to try to take all that profit margin that you guys are making?
It's crazy. You know, people would say there's no way. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. We have builders now in Chicago, in Indiana, in all the areas of Florida,
North
in
Carolina,
Texas,
Florida,
North Carolina, Sacramento, Oregon, Washington.
Texas. Because here's the thing.
Well, real quick, like Georgia, he's like, oh, $135 a square plus 12%. Like, think about it. I can now go build a house in Georgia. So there are those people. They're typically somebody that doesn't run a massive company. They do a couple homes a year, spec. They buy a lot. They build and sell it. So like, oh, I don't have to buy a lot, build and sell it to make 50. You'll pay me 20? No risk, no loan, nothing? Sure. But if you go talk to a custom home builder, that's a whole different story.
300
right?
a foot, 400 a foot. But these builders are really easy to find. Here's why. Because this builder, he can, like I was working for the national builder, these guys are project managing, building 20 houses at once. But if this builder takes on 5 to 10 houses at a 10% fee, right, he's making $500K a year. Like, he's chilling. That's a really good income nowadays. And he can run around, run the 10 houses himself. So these builders exist everywhere. You don't have to go to a custom home builder that's 300 a foot.
It's a win-win. At the end of the day, it is a win-win. And you're not finding somebody that's building 1,000 doors a year. It's just local builders that build spec for themselves. They can build a few for clients as well.
I was in debt, and I was able to have a good lifestyle by just building for other people like Arthur and other clients, charging that 10% fee. And for me, I had a GC license, had my insurance that was $3K a month, and that's it. That's literally it. And I had Google Sheets to manage my schedules at the time, and before we switched to Builder Trend sponsor me. But yeah, I mean, that's it.
Shout out to Builder Trend.
I was curious too. You guys have talked about like how you're syndicating a lot of these deals. How much money have you raised over the past 7 years of doing this?
Probably 10 million.
Close to 10, I would say.
How'd you learn how to syndicate and raise money?
Well, when you're saying syndicate, you're not truly syndicating those deals like SEC.
No,
you're just forming
not a
JVs.
fund. Yeah, not a fund.
Deal by deal basis, partnership. They're active. We're active. You know, they're involved in decision making.
Oh, they're involved with partnership. Okay.
Yeah. So you're
just finding money partners, really.
Exactly. Yeah. So they help us with design.
Involved.
They help us with design.
Paint colors.
We give them options on siding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, how did we start and how did we figure it out? Well, it was from a lack of money and debt and poor credit. So I needed someone to bring in that side.
You're like, I'm a 400 credit score. I need 10 million.
Well, hey,
Will you hook me up?
Here's the other thing. Proof of work, right? I built my first house. He builds a house. I build a couple more. I'm like, this is what I did. Yeah. My cash on cash was 100 at that time, 200% because it was 90% LTC. So you bring 10% down on a deal. It was crazy. Then they picked it up to 15. And so the cash on cash was attractive enough for people that they're like, let's do it. This is awesome.
You said it before, experience.
Yep.
You went and showed them you had done it before. They don't care what your credit score is. They're like, oh, you built a house, you made money. So when you're out vetting other builders for yourselves in other markets and you don't know, to me, we've run into a lot of bad contractors.
That's how we've lost a lot of money.
We've lost a lot of money on bad contractors. Are there certain pitfalls that you've learned on how to find red flags, and when you're searching for that new builder, like how do you seek out this builder you say that's everywhere that can actually get the job done and really do it for $130 or $150 a foot and not screw your project up?
Really simply put, so you guys are doing value add, you guys are doing remodels, right? The biggest thing that I've learned in the new construction space is we pay zero deposits, zero cash up front.
It's predictable. The thing with value add is sometimes it's unpredictable. The project that was that massive commercial, the budget was like $500,000. It was like 1.3.
So
because you open the wall, you don't know what's there,
and you're like, oh gosh, it's structural and this and that. So the thing with new construction, it is very predictable, and you can you can project the cost. And then the other thing is, that you've got contracts in place and you look at what they've built in the past, their previous budgets, their receipts, their subs. You can look at everything and you can dissect, and especially as being a builder, I run a lot of numbers. I put budgets together. I can say, well, your foundation looks off. Are you sure you paid that? Yeah, here's what I paid. Great. Right? So you can fact check. So it's, again, you don't know what you don't know. So once you go through it, you have a different
perspective. So you ask them for a sample budget, sample project.
Actual cost, actual breakdown. And if you want to get to the gritty of, each sub and paying them, if you're going to be paying them $50, $100,000, $150, depending on how many builds, you got to go through all that.
And they're hard bidding every job for you?
Yep. Yeah.
And we hard bid, that's right.
So at the end of the day, right, it's really simple. If we get an invoice for $50,000 that includes framing, lumber, and foundation and whatever, at the end of the invoice, you add a line item of 10%, whatever you agreed on, and that's it. It's straight cost, because at the end of the day, it's really simply this one concept. The subcontractor has all the rights. He puts a lien on your property. You're not selling or moving that property until he lifts it. So what security do I have? Nothing. So subcontractor, you have a credit card. I will pay you within 2 weeks. If you need to order a bathtub and you don't have the money for the bathtub, I'll call my plumbing supplier. Hey, can I pay this bathtub with my credit card? I get the points. I can go to Hawaii now. But at the end of the day, you see the difference. Remodel contractors are always asking for deposits. I've never paid one. It's that simple. I don't pay a deposit because I say, look, here's the process. You finish the foundation. You pour the foundation, city inspector verifies it, bank inspector verifies it. I get the draw.
Then I give you the money.
I'm not a bank. I'm not going to float it, and then I will pay you after that.
Yeah.
And I always say, depending on the banks, our banks are pretty quick. Like, I can pay you within a week. If the day you get the job done and pass inspection, I could pay you within a week. You schedule inspections right after that. You pass it. A couple days later, the draw is released.
Sure. Yeah, you're just passing money from the lender to the sub.
And a good sub understands that. I think the wrong sub, we've learned this lesson. The wrong subs usually want a deposit, and then you give them a deposit and they don't show up. Good luck getting there. And then the other thing is, I never pay the final check to any of the subs or the builder until the job is fully complete. Mm-hmm. Because that's the only leverage you have as a property owner, or as a property owner and a GC. But that's the only leverage I have, is the check.
Yep.
And so I leverage the check with city inspectors, bank inspectors, and there you go. We're able to build some stuff out.
I love it. You have more questions?
I have more deal questions.
I can see your brain going. Oh, it's really awesome.
I was curious too. So,
this.
with your guys' 7-figure builder thing, did you start getting popular on social media and then start that, or did you start that and then start advertising it, or what did that look like?
So we got introduced into the social media space a few years ago from Chris Crone, right?
So how it actually happened is, randomly I wake up one day, and my friend that I was hanging out with, I was giving him some advice on his construction company. He pulls up and he's like, "Hey, Ruben, you're going viral on TikTok." And I'm like, "What the heck?" He's like, "I've been posting for you for the past 2 weeks using your story highlights, and I was going viral. I had over 100K followers like shortly after that, and that was our first exposure into social media. We go to a real estate event. A guy there is like, "Listen, you can't build enough real estate deals. You can't syndicate enough deals, but social media has absolute intense
you can't
potential.
Do it on your own.
You can't do it on your own. Intense potential." And so, you can get millions of views. And I'm like, "Oh, that's funny you say that. My TikTok just blew up." And we did nothing with it, guys. At that time,
2021, right?
2021. At that time, we're mid projects, 50,
100 doors active.
50, 100 doors active at the time, full energy there, stressing out, sleepless nights, nails in your stomach, you name it. And then fast forward, again, literally we started selling units, we started renting units, we have more time on our hands. We have 115 in permitting, but there's major gaps. So I'm letting project managers go. Naturally, I'm just a hard worker. I'm not going to sit around and be lazy. And so we launched this actual social media brand in order to try and teach people and share the knowledge that we created. I have a mobile app with over 9,500 people active in there talking back and forth, and so it's just so cool to see that.
The thought process was okay, this is a 5-year journey. We'll just kind of talk about it, and while we're building the next 113 homes, we'll grow. It's like first month in I have 1,500 followers. Second month in I'm at 10,000. Third month I'm like 20,000. I'm like, dude, this is crazy. A reel goes viral, hits 1 million. He gets a reel, and we just start getting massive influx. And so
people
for
are
us,
DMing.
For us, it was like reverse. We're like, oh yeah, we have something, and then we built it out. Right. And that it was like a natural cause and effect. And so we had to build out this entire platform. It started with 20 lessons. Now we have 85 lessons because students are like, I have this question. And we got it to the point finally where we're like, okay, this is the product. It works. People are doing it. They're building. But it was definitely natural. I will say if I could go back, I would have gone ham in 2021.
with this?
Yeah, I would have, because this it's so perfect for exposure and everything. And probably had a fund too. We would have just had a fund and had a bunch of rentals. It would have been fun.
Yeah, on social media, there's so much. It's so much of it is fake. People trying to pretend that they're out doing the kind of stuff that you guys are doing, and you guys to have the authentic story of actually being able to do it and then teach others how to do it. There's a lot of folks out there that have found success that don't go out and share it the way you guys are doing. So that's super cool. But to hear that you went viral, I mean, what were there certain videos or certain things that you posted that you realize really get more engagement than other things?
Yeah, twofold. I would say one, the apartments, like looking at how I look, and in the videos especially, I look 15,
How's
right?
this kid
No
on this?
beard,
Yeah.
nothing. Like I just look like a
Young
kid.
guy,
And I'm standing at this apartment complex, and the crazy thing is from that personal house to the apartment is less than 2 years. And so, and I always say it was easier to do this apartment than it was my house.
Yeah.
And so I think that people are like, this is crazy. Who is this guy? And then us just being who we are. Like when you say, how did you raise capital, or how did you syndicate? Just us as people talk what we do. We show what we do, but we're not like, I did this and I did that. It's more of just how do I provide as much value on what I learned?
Yeah.
And I think people can see that versus like, hey, my mission is to just get a check.
Yeah, you're not showboating just to try
Right.
to get somebody to write you a check.
We're
You're
not getting Lambos and everything. Like we're just like, hey, we do what we do. And I didn't think it would go this fast. I'm like, I'd probably get 100K in a few years, and it's like in 6 months you're almost at 100,000 followers. It's crazy. And then we capture, right? Like we give as much free things as we can to people. So I think people value that as well. So we'll give a free PDF.
We dropped a free duplex PDF plan, and it was the craziest thing. So we drop it on Instagram. This guy somehow gets Arthur's number, and he's calling and leaving 3 voicemails saying, "Hey, I heard you guys are offering a free duplex PDF. How can I get it?" You know what I mean? And apparently this guy's not on social, so somebody let him know. And so those kind of things are crazy. Like people, we're giving what we actually do.
Yeah, if you give a ton of free value, how much more is it if you're actually working with someone, right? And so that's the thing I always say, like if I can expedite someone's success and give him all the hard lessons, the loan extensions, right? Like that apartment I built 15 years, I had to write a $70,000 check to extend the loan 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel good at that time because you're like, man, if I knew a year and a half ago the underwriting was like 20.25 of a point, right? And it's like a couple grand, and instead you're writing this massive check that's a salary for somebody. And so learning those lessons was massive, and I think just seeing the hunger people have in real estate has been really cool. And my root of all of it is when I was trying to get into the game, it took me 4 years. I would ask fix and flippers, can I work for you for free? And people would respond, I don't want to create competition. So for me, I have like that something deep inside me. I'm like, well, I don't think it's competition. I think everybody can be successful together.
Amen.
The competition is the billion-dollar companies,
there
right?
You go.
You want to have more small business owners. You want to have more people building. And so I think a lot of it stems from that of if I can give as much free, and we even do this free class on Thursdays, if somebody can take that and go do it, that's enough, right?
More power to them.
Exactly. And so we're really open book.
Your abundance mindset.
Yep.
Win, guys. We
There
love
you
it.
go. Yeah.
We're cut from the same cloth. Adding value.
Do you think you'll be able to pivot that following into raising money too, or have you already?
We already have. Like one of our student right now, we're doing 2 $1.5 million builds together, and we're funding it cash, and we're teaching him along the way. So he gets to learn how to do it, and he's going to make probably close to $500,000. And so that's really cool. To me, I think it's full circle. Like we're teaching people, they can actually do it with us, not just learn from an education. I think that's also the big thing is like people sell courses. Cool. But are you doing it right now? Or did you do it 15 years ago or 5 years ago? No, we're doing it and we're teaching it. But at the same time, the benefit is we create partnerships. We're doing deals together. And I think that's been really cool.
I love it. I love what you guys are doing. We're going to wrap up this episode, and we're going to come back and talk a little more deal specific.
Cool.
We want to hear. We kind of want to hear some of the pain.
Oh yeah, we shared a little, right? $70K loan extension doesn't feel good.
We could talk about a unicorn deal too, but we want to hear about how you guys work through the hard parts. Arthur and Ruben Ryapolov.
There you go.
Man, I think this episode's going to go viral now. See, Deal Junkies is sort of a little secretive thing that we got going. I think you guys are going to blow us up. Everyone's going to hear you guys talking and just want to follow you around. So you guys are sevenfigurebuilder.com.
Yep.
That's your education platform.
Yep.
You're out building in August is the name of your August Development, your development company. ICO is your GC builder brand.
Yep.
You guys are partners, also running your own separate companies that are very much collaborative. It sounds like you're out doing tons and tons of business in your late 20s, early 30s, just young, awesome, good-looking hustlers.
Appreciate that. Yeah, you got Ruben the Builders, the socials, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Arthur the Developer. So it's cool. We thought of those names, and then naturally it just happened. So there you go.
Ruben the Builder, Arthur the Developer.
Yep.
Those are your TikToks. So you guys are big on TikTok.
Instagram, I would say, is the big one.
Instagram.
Well, actually, the crazy thing is I did the free PDF for the 7-step process and a free duplex, and I look at my Facebook, and I have 45,000 followers in like a month. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that.
So if somebody wants to find you right away, what's the easiest way to come
Arthur
find you?
the Developer, Instagram.
Yep.
Okay. And Ruben the Builder, Instagram.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for being on Deal Junkies. Deal Junkies, we love you. Thanks for listening. Please share this episode. We would love to be awesome like these guys one day and have hundreds of thousands of followers. We just come in here and just talk about real estate deals because we're Deal Junkies. But we really appreciate you gentlemen being on the show with us today, and we'll come back, do a follow-up, and talk about some more deals.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening, guys.